All right.
Nice job.
All right, so I just went down in the boat. Here's the old plugs that came out of here. So that one should go there, and that one should go there somehow, and then somewhere else there's the little pieces to the switches. So I think we can basically put these plugs back in there. But I'm going to use this larger drill bit, open up these old bolt holes, try to get down to fresh wood around the edges, and then we'll tape them off from down below and epoxy these things in place. Probably add a little bit of reinforced or fiberglass fiber in there just to kind of, you know, beef it up a little bit, but I think that should get the job done. I drilled the holes out bigger to get down to bare wood, and also roughed up these inside edges to remove that epoxy layer that was on the inside, and it got down to bare wood on the inside of these large holes as well. And by the way, if you're at all curious, here is what the deck is made up of on these West Sail 42s. Pretty thick fiberglass layer on the top, then a layer of some kind of wood, I don't know, plywood or balsa or something. To me it kind of looks like plywood, sort of has that layer quality to it, and then another really thick layer of fiberglass underneath too. So pretty heavy stuff. That's about 1.25 inches thick, or maybe even 1.5 inches. Okay, so it turns out that I have the cutout discs for 3 of the 4 holes. I've got that little one there, but I'm missing the one here, which is why I cut up all those fiberglass discs, because I'm going to layer those in the hole and start filling that in. And I just have these holes backed with duct tape. There's better ways to do this. You can use, you know, wax paper and things like that to be a release, you know, whenever the epoxy is cured. But you know, this is going to be hidden under the ceiling, you know, there in the vberth, so even if there is some kind of residue or whatever, it's going to be hidden. But I'll do my best to get it off, you know, after the fact. I've actually had some good luck with duct tape. I don't know, something about the adhesive or whatever actually seems to act sort of as a barrier to keep the epoxy from sticking too much, so it's worked pretty good in the past for me. So I'm going to mix up some epoxy. I'm going to add some milled glass fiber, which is a nice little additive. It sort of gives it some more strength and rigidity, so I'm going to do that. But the key here is to not mix it too thick, you know, especially to fill these big bolt holes like this. You know, you got to have it thin enough where it will like seep all the way down to the bottom of the holes, and any air bubbles will be able to still rise to the top. But you don't want it so thin, especially in my case using this duct tape as a backer, where it can kind of make its way, you know, through little cracks and end up dripping out. So, you know, got to get the consistency just right. But yeah, about to mix some epoxy and fill some holes. By the way, this epoxy here was a gift from one of our viewers, so thank you very much for sending this to us. Very helpful of you. Thank you so much. Okay, so now I've got all the layers of fiberglass in there. I'll let that cure, and then I'll probably fill it in the rest of the way with the you know, reinforced epoxy with the fiberglass fibers mixed into it. Kind of a thickened epoxy mix to build that up really far. Yep. All right. Now moving on to these guys. That's probably a pretty good mix to fill these holes up. You know, runny with a little bit of thickener in it.
Hello.
Hey, TJ. What are you up to?
I am making shelf templates for our closets.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Yeah.
What's your process?
I don't know. It's just kind of all over the place. There's not one specific process.
Because every single shelf has to be custom made, right?
Yeah. This bottom one I started. It took me like 3 hours just to get.
Yeah.
It's kind of dark in there. But.
Let's see. Oh yeah, look at your pretty nice detail work, cutting around the corners and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got my closet pretty much done. Aside from the ceiling part.
What was that move you just did? Like you were raising the roof there for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because I want to cover all of the exposed wires and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do something up there.
Yeah. And I have, oh, right there.
Oh, your baskets.
My baskets. You know, they fit in there.
Mm-hmm.
They fit. Yeah.
All right, we'll carry on.
Thanks.
Okay, so as you know, we just removed the windlass. I wanted to try to explain a little bit of our logic as to why we are probably going to just sell that windlass and get rid of it rather than trying to, you know, adjust it and make it fit somehow. So bear with the noise. There's wind and grinding and halyards clacking, and I'll try to get through this as quickly as I can. Here we go. All right, so one of the main things you need to know is this boat has a vertical windlass, meaning the shaft is extending vertically and it spins on a horizontal axis. Now, the main thing you need to know about that is a vertical windlass, the chain needs to approach it as close to a perpendicular angle as possible. When you start getting weird angles involved, you risk the chain slipping and bad things happening. The other thing you need to know is that this boat has very tall bulwarks. I mean, they're like 14 inches high up there. There's the bow roller that the chain comes over. So this tall bulwark creates an angle problem, like what I just told you about. It makes it very difficult to get that 90-degree angle. That is why I believe the previous owner put the windlass so far back. Right there's where the previous one was mounted, and he put it way back here in the middle of the deck and in the middle of the vberth. And the reason that happened was because the further back you move the windlass from the bulwark, the less and less that angle becomes. So in other words, you know, looking at it the other way around, the closer you move it to the bulwark, the more exaggerated that angle becomes, and it gets worse and worse. So the idea I had to try to make this windlass actually work was to move it forward towards the bulwark, you know, worsening that angle, but then to fix that, I would tilt the windlass back. I would actually angle it backwards. But to do that, I would have to do a shim above the deck and a shim below the deck in order to provide two angled mounting surfaces for, you know, the windlass to sit on above the deck and for the motor and the gearbox and everything to engage with below the deck. But then, even if I went through all that trouble in trying to come up with this custom solution with these wedges and everything else, then the problem that I'd likely run into is problems with the chain feeding, because that, in order to make this work, I would have to tilt it back pretty far, and then I worried that I would make a problem with the chain, you know, dropping down correctly and feeding out of the deck correctly. But then as far as tilting it back, there's another limitation. There's only so much room between the windlass base and the top of the gearbox, and it's only about 3 inches or so. So when you take into account that there's, you know, 1.5 inches of deck, you know, between those two, and then I'm talking about trying to put wedges, you know, to adjust that angle, because of the deck, that really limits the amount of angle I can create with the wedges, because in order to create a really drastic angle, I would need to open that gap up more and more between the windlass base and the gearbox in order to, you know, have all the mechanical pieces still work together. So suffice it to say that there's a lot of unknowns. It would be a custom job, and there's really no guarantees if it would work or not after I've gone through all the trouble in trying to figure that stuff out until, you know, we started using the windlass. And I'd rather not go through all that trouble on the hope that it's going to work. So yeah, we're just going to be liquidating this windlass. So I'm not really sure what we're going to do beyond that. We're probably we're going to go with a horizontal windlass of some kind. That was the problem that created all this issue in the first place, is that this boat with the tall bulwark should have had a horizontal windlass in the first place. This vertical one should have never been mounted here. So yeah, we're going to go horizontal. Maybe we'll even go manual. Alright, I think that's about all for now. These, because the deck is sloped, some of this runnier epoxy is basically running towards the back edge of the holes, and that's making it, you know, making a void on the front end of the epoxy. Like, look here. So it's full on this side and kind of needs a little more down here. So I'm just gonna have to come back with some you know, some filler, some thickened epoxy, you know, get it in there, clean all this stuff up. It looks really weird right now, but you know, once everything's cleaned up and probably sanded down, I'm gonna have to put new anti-skid in some of these areas. It's gonna be okay.
Okay. Nice job, honey.
Thank you, darling. Wait, don't. Let me just get a shot of look at my beautiful camera woman here. Look at her. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. I'm so glad you're with me, honey.
I'm glad to be here.
High five. Oh, I didn't think you were gonna do that.
I just touched her.
Yeah, okay. How things going back here, TJ?
Good. I think I have my shelf pretty much
templated?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the little false bottom in there. You can put some shoes underneath it.
Yeah. The first one took me like 3 hours to do. But then I kind of figured it out as I went. It got easier.
Yeah. Not all that bad, I don't think. There's one there, one there, and one there. But these things are very, very solid. Join us next time as we continue to refit on our 44-year-old sailboat by getting started on remodeling Molly's vberth. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on our upcoming episodes. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.